Let's talk about how to pass the video interview for BDO in 2024. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English. Welcome to the channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Mike. I have been career coaching graduates and professionals into some of the most competitive and top jobs in the UK and abroad since 2013. And in this video, I'm going to break down, based upon our research from publicly available sources, how to pass BDO's video interview. We're going to start off with fast facts from BDO, taken from their annual report, talk about the format of the interview, and then I'm going to break down how to answer some of the most common interview questions which came up in our research. So let's get started with fast facts about BDO. In June 2023, BDO reported a 16% increase in operating revenue to £923 million. The firm invested an additional £120 million into the business, which is its largest investment in its 100-year history. BDO also saw its profits rise by 5% to £198 million. The firm also invested an additional £8 million in a central audit quality team. BDO hired 300 new staff, bringing its headcount in the UK to 7,500 people. And finally, BDO Labs conducted 200 experiments which created 12 new digital products, saved 70,000 man hours and £2.8 million. Very impressive. So, what can we expect from the BDO video interview format? Well, based upon our research, it's going to be an online video interview of 3 to 5 questions. So a pretty standard format. From the last time that we checked, BDO was using Amberjack, so they are probably one of the few companies that doesn't use HireVue. And I would say you should expect 120 seconds to answer each question, which is 2 minutes, which roughly breaks down to about 100 words per minute. Some people speak a bit slower, some people speak a bit faster, but I say this because if you're writing a script and wondering how much you should write, 150 to 200 words is about right. What I want to do is pick out 7 of the most common questions that we came across, though we did pick out 13 questions which we have added into our research contained down in the interview success sequence below. We've taken a bit of a different tact of our research, unifying everything into giant spreadsheets so they're really easy to go through based upon the industry that you're applying to. So here's the 7 most common questions and how to think about answering them. Question number 1, why you tell me about yourself? Now, personal introductions are the boogeyman of most graduates and most professionals, in fact. Now, here's a little tip. Most people are really bad at introducing themselves. There's something like, oh, well, my name's Mike and I'm currently working at blah, 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 and I'm blah, blah, and they tend to just dither a lot in the very small details upon the most immediate thing that they're doing. And this is exactly the same for professionals as it is for graduates, because I see this a lot in my one-to-ones. If you book a one-to-one with me, one of the first things I'm going to do is say, hi, how can I help you? And then tell me a bit about yourself, and then watch people struggle. Now, even if you don't have an interview, this is a really good place for you to start in your preparation. I like to break down personal introductions into 7 parts. Who are you and what are you doing now? What have you done in the past, last 3 to 5 years? What would you like to do in the future? That's really confusing, we're only on 3. What would you like to do in the future? Work experience, extracurricular skills and activities, hobbies, and end with a hook. Now, the reason why I like doing that is it keeps everything really short and simple. I like formatted things, and you can find a TMAY worksheet down in the link in the description below for our free application success sequence bundle, which gives you everything you need to get your first interview, your next interview, or your last interview. And in the worksheet, what I sort of break down is just saying, who are you? So, you know, hi, my name's Mike. I'm currently studying a bachelor's in maths at Warwick University, and I'm on track to get a 2-1. What have you done in the past? Previously, I studied A-levels. What would you like to do in the future? And breaking this down into small chunks makes it really easy for you to remember, and this is a great thing for you to practice by yourself. A good personal introduction comes from repetition. It doesn't just happen overnight. That's where a lot of people tend to go wrong. So think, if I write and rewrite my script, then maybe I'll have a better personal introduction. But you're only going to be good at doing the thing if you do the thing over and over again, which is talking. Question number 2, why do you want to do this role? Now, almost guaranteed in almost any interview, you're going to get asked the 3 why questions, and we're going to cover the last one just after this. So when talking about why do you want to do this role, the most common mistake that I see is people basically talking about themselves like, well, I'm so brilliant, I'm blah, 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 blah. No one cares. I mean, it's great that you're brilliant, but really, no one cares. What they really care about is, do you understand what you're going to be doing? And do you have the relevant skills to do this role? Now, make sure that you have a job description to hand. If the job description for BDO or the role that you're applying to is not particularly helpful, then just go and get a different job description. Just type in the job into Google and go and rip it from somewhere else, because basically it's the same job, right? Just at a different company. And then what you want to do with this is break this down into 2 parts when you're answering this question. So number 1, as an auditor at BDO, I would be expected to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just list off the things that you do. Now, this is very important if your interview is being passed by an algorithm, i.e. if somebody is using an AI-driven video interview software like HireView, potentially like Amberjack, or what BDO is using to analyze your responses. Because essentially what's going to happen is you're going to deliver your answer, the video is then going to transcribe what you're saying, and then an algorithm is going to pass the transcription. Right? And what they're going to be looking for is, here's all the words that we want from our job description. And this guy said those words. We should give him a job and progress him to the next round. And they will discard the people who don't mention those words. Now, does it make a difference if you look really miserable? I guess, but still, if you mention all the words, it seems much more likely than the woman who's really happy and talks about ponies and cookies, because that's not so relevant, right? So you're breaking it down into those 2 parts, and then finally you're just talking about the 2 or 3 skills that you have which would make you really good for the job, and providing some sort of proof. I am an excellent swimmer because recently I featured in the national championships of blah. Don't just say you have the skill, prove the skill. Question number 3, why would you like to join BDO? Now, the facts that you just heard me give you actually came about through a really simple thing, which is I downloaded the annual report for BDO, popped it into ChatGPT and just said, give me 50 facts from the annual report. Now, you'll notice that all of the facts that I gave are unique and specific to BDO. They're not generic blah facts, right? I really like BDO because it's a really big company and I would have great experiences. Don't be that guy. Be that person who puts in the 5 minutes that it takes to do your research. Get tangible facts. If you want to go a little bit the extra mile, maybe find a fact that means something to you. It could be something to do with their charitable giving, with their technology, with their ESG, whatever it is, and relate that back to yourself. But that's all you should do. You shouldn't talk about yourself when answering about why you want to work for BDO. This is a chance for you to demonstrate that you've actually done your homework. And it is surprisingly common how few people do their homework about the company. If you pick out 5 fast facts, I almost guarantee you're in the top 5 or 10% of answers automatically. Question number 4, why this location? Now, this is a bit of a curious question. It's not something that I come across for anywhere else, and it's something that people often struggle with. And when I'm offering advice for how to answer these questions on one-to-ones, I say, look, just tell the truth. Do you love London? Did you want to live outside of London? Does your girlfriend live here? Is your boyfriend moving here? Are you just going to the place which provides you the best opportunity? You do not have to sit there and give 17 different reasons why you really, really want to work in Nottingham. It's absolutely fine. Just tell the truth. That's all you need to do. Or if you just said, be honest with you, I'm not really that fussed about the location. This was the job that came up for me. I'm young, I've just graduated, I'm happy to move wherever. Reading looks like an interesting place when I've looked into it, and I'm looking forward for the opportunity to work here. Because here's the trick. Once you start working for a professional services company, you're not going to be spending a lot of time traveling around and taking in the sights of Southampton. You're going to be at work, or you're going to be studying for your ACA qualifications, and in the time that you don't have, probably just going to be trying to have a life and probably watching Netflix. So doesn't really matter where you work. Now, the last three questions were common competency questions that we saw come up. Now, just remember with competency questions, you always want to be using the STAR format: situation, task, action, result. And you want to make sure that you put maximum effort, the most amount of time into the action that you took. So don't drivel on about the situation or the task. Really kind of demonstrate that these are the actions that show that you understand teamwork, leadership, decision making, problem solving, innovativeness, whatever it is. Don't spend a lot of time talking about Holly, Kim, and Sue, who you worked with, and the task that you had to do. That's not the thing that's going to demonstrate that you have the skill. The action is what's going to demonstrate that you have the skill. Question number 5, describe a time where you had to collaborate. So this is very much the same as teamwork. So the situation, where were you? The task, what is it that you had to do in a zoomed out version? But give the context. Very often when people are giving STAR answers, they'll say, there was a time when I was at university and I was doing a project with some people and then this thing happened. I'm like, what are you talking about? Give me some context. Because if you don't give me context, I just feel a little bit confused and disinterested, and then I start thinking about lunch. Now you might turn and go, but Mike, you said a person doesn't watch it, but they may watch it, and also you're going to find it much easier telling a story if there are related specifics. For example, the date, the names of the people, the kind of 10-second summary of what the project was, and talking about collaboration, speaking, listening, communicating, resolving conflict, moving towards a common goal. Question number 6, how do you work with a deadline coming up? Now, I like this question because it's kind of a strength question, right? It's like, what do you think success is? And you're like, oh my God, I don't know. So how do you work with a deadline coming up? So a good way to answer this is basically imagine it's still a competency question, but you give a direct answer at the start of it. So how do you work with a deadline coming up? Well, I tend to be quite focused. Really importantly, in my academic life, I've always been good at prioritizing work by deadline and making sure that I manage my schedule effectively to get that work done. So when I have a deadline in front of me, I am focused, I blot out anything else which is not related to that, and I make sure that I get the job done. A time when I did this was, and then it turns into a STAR answer. Where I see a lot of people go wrong is they spend 2 minutes talking about the meaning of deadlines, right? You don't need to do that. You just need to very quickly give a hot take about how you deal with deadlines, and then give me an example to demonstrate the fact that you can deal with deadlines. Question number 7. What is your biggest weakness? Now, this is an absolute doozy of a question and is one that many people struggle with. A good way to think about weaknesses are just lessons that you have learned. Things that you have done wrong and then been shown that they are wrong or reflected that this is not good and then learnt from them. A really common one that I hear from graduates is about time management or missing the mark, whether that be handing in something late, failing a module, failing, a piece of coursework. But this is a really excellent learning opportunity. And a lot of people will kind of, sort of steer away. They go, oh my God, I can't possibly reveal that I failed at something. I'm like, are you serious? Are you like the boy in the bubble who never went outside? Everybody fails at stuff, right? And if you're that guy who says, I don't have a weakness, get out of here. Seriously, just get out. So when talking about your biggest weakness, talk directly about what it is. And my advice to you is, as long as it's not compromising of the ethics and character that is required to do this job, like extreme stabbiness, excessive drinkiness, something like this. Just be reasonable. So you might say, one of my biggest weaknesses have been disorganized. There was a time in my second year of university when I had 3 deadlines for 3 different modules. And just before one of the papers was due, I was actually working on something completely different. And a friend of mine gave me a call and asked me if that paper was ready. And I said, what paper? And he said, the paper that's due in tomorrow? And I was like, oh my God, I haven't done that at all. I went to the professor and explained that situation, and I felt awful because I felt like I'd really let the professor down. And he was pretty cool about it and he gave me an extension, but I learned from that experience that I made sure that I had a physical diary, that I would write out all my deadlines, that I would take the time each week to assess how many chunks I would need to give to each piece of work, and also be generous in that, and making sure that before I went out with my friends or went to society events, I had got that work done first. Now you'll notice a mistake happened, but this is fairly reasonable. And what's most important is that you have demonstrated the lesson that you have learned. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do me a favor, like this video, drop me a comment down below with a thumbs up, or just let me know what brought you here to watch this video today. Bye.